From being a phenom for the Oklahoma Thunder to bringing buckets with the Lakers, Russell Westbrook has somehow ended up with the Clippers. And now, star point guard Paul George has finally revealed why they wanted him on their squad in the first place. Because, as it turns out, both George and Leonard had a plan in mind. In the latest episode of his podcast, Paul George talked about why he and Kawhi Leonard wanted Russell Westbrook on their squad in the first place. One of the biggest reasons why they needed someone like Westbrook on their side was because of the lack of point guards in their lineup. They talked about how after they had traded Reggie and John, they quickly realized that they weren't doing so well without a dedicated point guard. Sure, Paul George, in his prime, was one of the best PGs in the game, but in case you haven't noticed, he's no longer as young as he used to be. He can't run around like he used to and wants to take up a more relaxed role in the team. Now that Westbrook has arrived, he believes that his problems are finally over. Still, you have to wonder whether that's really the case. I mean, was bringing Westbrook in even the best move?
Westbrook sees an opening and throws it down. There's that nuclear athleticism of Russell Westbrook.
Well, let's take a look at the facts here. Before Westbrook was even a thought, the point guard position was shared between PG, Kawhi, and Terrence Mann. I'm not going to lie to you, even then, they were doing quite well. They'd only lost 3 games while having won 10 games. I don't know about you, but to me, it seems like the system was working pretty great.
Here comes Westbrook. Off to Adams. Westbrook corner. George for the lead. It is a 3.
Absolutely.
They've got the lead. Westbrook has a triple-double, and Paul George may have just won this game for the Thunder.
Now that there's a new element in the squad, who knows how it's going to impact the team. Look, I get George's point of view on wanting to bring a dedicated point guard like Westbrook onto the squad.
What a perfect ending to a historic day. Westbrook gives the Thunder the victory at the buzzer.
The man is a machine and can bring a positive impact on the team's success this season. Besides, you know what they say, if it ain't broke, there's no point in trying to fix it. That applies to this situation so well that it's not even funny. Still, it's the players who have to go out there and play, and if they feel like a change is needed, then who are we to argue? Though, what kind of impact can Westbrook even have on the squad? Well, if he plays his cards right, he could probably end up with a ring or 2 on his fingers. Look, just think about it. Westbrook is by no means a bad player. He's a legend in the making. Sure, he hasn't had the best few seasons with the Lakers. We can attribute that to the lack of confidence he seemed to be facing every time he stepped on the court with them. Now that he's with a new team, he might have a better chance of regaining his footing. Still, that's a big what if. But we'll get into that later. For now, let's think positive. Now that Westbrook is here, he's here to stay. So you have to wonder how he can help the Clippers right now. Well, if he goes back to the form he was in before he started bricking every shot he threw, the Clippers might become the strongest team in their conference. He'll also be able to take a ton of pressure off the other star players on the squad. Ultimately, if he plays his cards right, he'll be back on track to win another few MVP titles. However, even with everything I've said so far, you have to wonder whether Westbrook has it in him to go back to being as good as he used to be.
And I say congratulations again. I only have one more thing to say. MVP!
Well, judging by his performance in the last few games, we might get to see his redemption arc very soon. I mean, it's no secret that Westbrook was struggling big time. At least while he was still with the Lakers, he wasn't in the best form. He was bricking almost every bucket he threw and wasn't at all someone you could depend on if the going got tough. Still, while that phase lasted a bit longer than it should have, he was seen to be getting back to his former self. He'd started to sink in more buckets and was looking as confident as ever. Regardless, it wasn't enough to convince the franchise, or the fans for that matter, of his importance to the squad. However, as I mentioned before, he's wanted at the Clippers. If he plays his cards right, he could be looking at a great few seasons to come. He's got a whole team of star players waiting to welcome him onto the squad and help him drain buckets. With that being said, you have to ask yourself whether this risk is even worth it. Well, if you ask me, he's worth taking a chance on. Okay, so Westbrook hasn't been the most reliable player in the past. He was pretty awesome when he played with Oklahoma.
Westbrook loving what the crowd did, energizing this Thunder team.
He was often hailed as their savior. So, can you guess how sad they felt when he decided to move away from the team? His stint with the Lakers wasn't the best. I feel like I've reinforced that enough. That's all in the past now. He struggled a bit. However, he's been showing signs of getting back into shape. I don't think that the Clippers fans need to be worried. He's a talented player, and Paul George and Kawhi Leonard wanted to bring him on for a reason. They wouldn't be prepared to take a risk as big as this without believing in Russell with all of their heart. At the end of the day, it all depends on whether Westbrook is ready to seize this new opportunity he's been given. If everything goes according to plan, there's no telling what kind of havoc he'll end up wreaking with the Clippers.
Westbrook with the steal. Jailbreak. What a pass! What a pass! Play of the day! It's all over. Don't even bother.
And so, this brings us to the final and most important question. Will Westbrook prove to the world that Paul George was right to bring him in? As I mentioned before, all of this depends on Westbrook himself. While he seemed pretty demotivated before, he looks to be gearing up to dominate. Besides, the whole atmosphere he was being surrounded by wasn't exactly one where you'd expect a player to perform his best. Everybody was constantly hating on Westbrook, and whenever the team lost, the blame would usually get thrown his way. So if his form wasn't declining already, all of this negative energy being thrown his way didn't help at all. One could even say that Westbrook's downfall with his last franchise was due to all the negative press he seemed to be getting. Thankfully, with the Clippers, he's being surrounded by an atmosphere where he can feel loved. And for an athlete of his caliber, what could be better than to be surrounded by people encouraging and motivating you night after night? It's clear that with veterans of the game like Paul George and Kawhi Leonard on his side, Westbrook is going to grow into a new player entirely. We're no longer going to be forced to sit through entire games where we see him brick one shot after the other. What'll probably end up happening now is that Westbrook will once again show us all why he's as great as he is.
Westbrook inside and goes for the slam. The lane just opened up for him with no help defense there.
We can probably expect a few triple-doubles, limitless assists, and thousands of points coming our way very soon. All we need to do right now is wait and see what he can bring to the table. That was everything on the real reason why Paul George and Kawhi Leonard decided to bring him onto the Clippers squad.
First game for Russell Westbrook, and I think I speak for a lot of Clipper fans. There's optimism, there's curiosity, and there's concern. The Clippers come in fourth in the Western Conference, playing terrific.